Welcome to New York, Zane. I won't keep you long. I know you're on a family vacation, but I do want you to just take my card and keep me in mind because I know you're going to be one of the best college football receivers this year. And quite honestly, I think you're going to be a high pick in next year's draft if you declare. I hope you keep me in mind. I think you have big things ahead. Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome to the offseason coming off of our first national championship. You can just see the progression in this series. I mean, we have been doing extremely well the last few years, and we are 4-0 in bowl games. Tulsa State has a new head coach, Reyes, and so does Auburn and Travaris Robinson. So, two SEC schools make a big change, and so do we. We lose our offensive coordinator. Miller moves on, and so does our defensive coordinator. Brad Robinson is going to take a new job at South Florida. Remember, South Florida did defeat Central Florida in a regular season game, which actually made UCF lose that number 1 spot. And now look at Brad Robinson moving on, and James Miller takes over as the Michigan coach. Now Tulsa State's new head coach is actually USF's old coach. So that's just an interesting swap there going over into the SEC for that coach. Now let's check on a couple of guys here. Adam Miller just recently got drafted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I should say, in the 3rd round, and will be the eventual replacement for Tom Brady. How about Jim Miller? Who remembers him from the Season 3 recruiting class? He ended up going over to Mississippi State, and we missed out on him, but he declares early for the draft, so we don't even get to face him at all, and he moves on. And let's see what that will turn out to be, because playing with his relative, Adam Miller, it's going to be interesting to see those two in the league at the same time. Maybe they end up being like the Manning brothers. Who knows? So we end up moving on to recruiting. And we do have a couple of guys here that we will have as walk-ons. Sean King is one of them. Greg McDonald is another one. He is a really interesting outside linebacker. We'll have to see how good these guys end up being. It wasn't a huge recruiting year for us because a lot of the 5 stars that we wanted to go after and 4 stars, they ended up going elsewhere and going to other schools. And that's the one thing about custom recruits. When you create them really well, they are pretty hard to get all on your team. And that's what happened this year. So we will have still our number 1 prospect on the board. He's been number 1 the entire season, Nicholas Vanderham. It looks like we are in the lead for him. At least for the most of the season we were, and we're going to have to put 5,000 on him, to be honest, and hope another team does not put a lot of points on him because it's getting dicey here. Xavier Hawkins, we're behind 48 points, but as a 4-star prospect, it looks like he could be considering Southern Miss or UCF, who had an amazing year. I guess we'll have to see because we do need cornerback help. Otherwise, we're going to have that same cornerback group, which really came around late last year, but honestly had its question marks throughout the season. I'm hoping that Xavier Hawkins comes because he will add length as well, which is something we don't have. Spec Myers is the number 1 middle linebacker in the nation. He's considering the Whitetails, so we actually put 3,000. There's just not enough points to go around. I'm hoping that the Whitetails do not commit to him. East Gotham is way out of range at 10,000 behind, and so is Florida. But I'm hoping that the Whitetails don't put any points on him, but it's very unlikely that they don't. He's the number 1 middle linebacker in the nation. And then Donovan Jensen, he is a number 1 strong safety in the nation. It's between Missouri and the Rivercats. I'm hoping that putting small points on him, he will still commit. Now we advance on to signing day, and here are the results. Spec Myers does commit to the Whitetails over us. We lose by 830 points. But how about this? Donovan Jensen commits to the Huskies out of Washington. They must have put like their whole recruiting points on him because they edge out Missouri by 175. But look at us. We're down here 13,000 points behind. That is incredible. We were in first the entire season for him, and in the offseason, he decides to commit to Washington. How about this, though? Justice Parrish pretty much disregards East Gotham. I don't know what happened there, but he's not even considering them anymore, and he goes to Tulsa State. Luckily, they don't get two quarterbacks. RJ Griffin goes to North Texas. He does not go to Tulsa State. And then we finally get our number one recruit, Nicholas Vanderham. It was close between us and M-Stam. I am surprised. But Xavier Hawkins, the cornerback who we just coveted, he goes to Southern Miss. Chris Brooks goes to Clemson, and John Porter ends up going to Florida. And that's who we play to open the season. So we'll see if he is starting for them. It's likely because Joel Coles was a senior last year for the Gators, and he graduated, so he's moving on to the NFL. We don't actually end up with a bad recruiting class, number 31, but a lot of these walk-ons will be cut. I'm only going to keep the guys that we went after on our recruiting board, so a lot of the guys that they just added to our recruiting class, they will not make the roster. So we move on to training results. We didn't have many position changes at all, maybe one, maybe two. I think McDonald, the freshman who we just recruited, I changed him over to end. But looking at our guys that progressed here, how about our quarterback group? They did really, really well. Dunn Carmichael is now over 91 throwing power. Running back group, this is going to be interesting. No J.J. Hollinson, and really Jamari Tyson is the really the longest guy that's been here. I guess Joe Bashai has been here just as long. They came in the same recruiting class, but two different backs. Bashai will still be that third down back, along with TC3, who will get some playing time this year. But St. Pierre, the true freshman, the five-star running back, will probably get the start. At receiver, we're pretty deep once again for the second straight or even third straight year. But Zane Storm, as you just saw in that little clip in the beginning of the episode, he could be eyeing the NFL. If he has a big year, he could be moving on. But if he has a down year, he could be staying. I guess we'll have to see how that unfolds. But look at this, 99 speed. He went up +2 in speed. Wow, he's going to be a blazer, and that's why I think he could end up being the best receiver in the nation this year. Chris Whiteside progressed pretty well. He actually went up to, I believe, in the mid-70s. Yep, he did. And then Macklin, 95 catching. He's going to play on the outside this year, probably replacing Stephen Ford out there. Edelman will also play in the slot, along with Isaiah Thomas, who will get into the rotation. Now at tight end, it will look different. No more Eric Klug, no more Ethan Andrews. So in comes Carter Garrison, Chance Watkins, and also Osiris Tucker, who is a true freshman. And Carter Garrison, he has some offensive line skills, so there is an opportunity for him to actually be an offensive lineman right away. And I think that fits him a little better because he is kind of a liability in the passing game. He can only pretty much play in the red zone. So I'm going to give Osiris Tucker and Chance Watkins a little bit more playing time than, Carter Garrison. He's tall, he's big. I think we can use him on the offensive line. Because you can see our offensive line isn't the strongest right now, but we do have a couple of good pieces. And you see, we don't even have a right tackle over 51 overall. That's kind of hurting us right now. Now on defense, Terea Noble, who we did redshirt last year, he was one of our few red shirts. He comes in and he had a great training session, 84 finesse moves, great pursuit at 89 for a redshirt freshman. He's going to get in the rotation. I don't know what that's going to look like, but Dominique Edwards and Jermaine Neal will be on opposite ends. I have them both at right end right now, but they will play on opposite ends for the second straight year. Dominique Edwards, could he possibly go to the NFL after a big year this year? I mean, it could happen. We'll have to see. Jonathan Thousand, could he go to the NFL after a big year this year? I mean, there's so many question marks going into season 7 because we could possibly lose a ton of juniors, especially after winning a national championship. We're now in the spotlight, and NFL teams are going to be looking at our team closely for some potential guys to join their organization. Now, Kelly Harrison Jr. will fill in for J.J. Taylor. Jonathan Thousand will assume that number 1 nose tackle position. We run a 4-3, so they will both be on the field quite a bit at the same time. Josiah McClure and Jason Caron will play linebacker in the middle, but Jake Braun will probably be the starter there over McClure because I just like the experience. I like that he's athletic as well, and he's shown that he can perform at the highest level. You got to depend on your seniors and your juniors to really contribute and be big-time playmakers on that defense. So here is right outside linebacker. Here is Osiah Caesar, who's 86 speed. Jake Braun is right behind, 85 speed, and that's what I'm talking about. I think this guy's going to have a great year, and we have been very fortunate to have very good middle linebackers, and I don't expect that to change with Jake Braun moving over to the middle of our linebacking core. Now, defensive back, I was hoping for a very big offseason from a bunch of guys. We have great awareness, but we just need to make the plays on the ball, and that's the thing. Dylan DiRoberto, surprisingly, is actually the lowest rated cornerback on our squad, but actually led our team in interceptions. Here, he has 80 zone, 80 man. Brenton Jackson coming into his junior year, his third year starting, 88 man, 81 zone. Can DJ Durrell crack the lineup once again after losing his starting job to DiRoberto last season? I guess we'll have to see. And then Jacob Drackett goes into his senior year. He had a very good season last year. He's just a guy that really is just reliable for us, and since starting, he's been very, very good. And looking at Kamari Jamison, he is the future of our safety group. Now, we did make a couple of changes here in the conference. I like to swap sides of the conference each year, and so we moved over to the West once again. So now you can see we are in this side of the conference with Texas A&M and LSU and Alabama and Auburn and Ole Miss. But then we swapped M-Stam for Missouri in the MAC, and then Kentucky with South Carolina as well, because Missouri and South Carolina were definitely underachieving, so I definitely kicked them out the conference. We need more competition. So Benjamin James Jr. is the first walk-on. He will replace, I forgot the name of the guy he replaced, but he will be our third-string quarterback, because remember, we have two transfers in Jamal Wilson and Ty Featherstone. Chris Secord takes over. And this is McDonald. Look at this overall. That is actually with the 3-point deduction that walk-ons get. Remember, what I do for walk-ons is that I deduct their top 3 skills by 3 points each. So his power moves, finesse moves, and block shedding all went down 3, and he's still 80 overall. That is amazing. And then Josh Joyner is also a walk-on. He looks interesting. He's a third-string defensive tackle. He will get in. Now, let's just take a look at where Jamal Wilson and Ty Featherstone ended up. Wilson goes over to Auburn with a new head coach, and now he will be the starter. I actually gave him a slight boost to his ratings, not a big one, and after training, he went up even further. And look who he gets to throw to. Zeke Timberlake, the best receiver in the game right now. Ty Featherstone goes to Minnesota. That is an interesting fit. Minnesota is a very quarterback-friendly offense, and he does get a little boost just like Jamal Wilson does because of the offense and how friendly it is to a quarterback, so he gets a small boost. But then after training, he went up to 84. I mean, he had a +8 in training, and I cannot exaggerate that. I went and checked it, and he actually went up +8. That is just ridiculous. Here's the first look at Justice Parrish with Tulsa State. 89 overall, true freshman. I think he's going to put Tulsa State on the map. Now, every 2 seasons, we rotate our playbook, or if we get a new offensive coordinator, so we will randomize that. And last year, we were Northwestern, the year before that. And now we are UAB. I think that's a pro-style offense after I checked that. They have some interesting plays under center. They have some pistol formations. So now let's hop into the spring practice. Now, one thing I noticed about this team is that the defense is just as good as last year. Even missing Brian York, we are still very, very good. I think coming into our own here with the secondary, and I think we're going to start to make more plays on the ball this year. So here is Carmichael, and let's see if he can stay healthy this year. And there is Dominique Edwards getting in for the hit on him. But you can just see on every play, this pass rush is in there. And I don't think we're going to skip a beat, to be honest. J.J. Taylor is going to be terribly missed on the defensive line, but Kelly Harrison Jr. is a 4-star prospect. He's going to be getting in there. And then Jermaine Neal returns for his senior year. It's going to be a very good defensive line once again for the second straight year. Jake Braun is moving over to middle linebacker. Osiah Caesar now fully assumes that role. He will not rotate with Jake Braun anymore. Jake Braun will just be the middle linebacker. So it will be an interesting year. Now on offense, our receiving core changes very little. Stephen Ford gets replaced by Eric Macklin. And then that leaves the door open for Isaiah Thomas to get back into the lineup. And then also a couple of tight ends with Osias Tucker right there, who he ran in motion. But at running back, it's going to look way different. Hollinson no longer is with us, but look at the freshman, St. Pierre, number 43. He gets his inspiration from Darren Sproles, and that's why you see him wearing that number 43. And he is a speed back. Now, I don't know what type of in-between type of runs we're going to run with him, in between the tackle type of runs we're going to run with him, but he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of outside handoffs like this one from the shotgun. He will get a couple of jet sweeps lined up at receiver sometimes. We're going to see some different packages with him, but he is the starter, a 5-star prospect. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do as a runner of the football, especially since he was a big pass catcher in high school as well. But that just opens the door for a power back, and that inserts Jamari Tyson back into the lineup. His first time in 2 years getting some meaningful playing time. He's going to get some carries along with Joe Bashai, but Joe Bashai is more of a pass catching back. He runs the ball well, but I don't think in a starting role he would really shine as well as he would as a third down back. So I'm excited to get Jamari Tyson back into the rotation and get St. Pierre, the freshman, a bunch of carries as well. So red shirts going into this season, we don't have a lot of them, and a lot of guys aren't really eligible, to be honest, because I only redshirt true freshmen, and Andrew Lane looks like the only guy I'm truly going to redshirt. Just going through each position, I see Josh Joyner getting in the rotation, so I'm not going to redshirt him. Lewis is just a walk-on. I don't really care about him. He won't touch the field at all. He just fills the roster. And then every other position, I mean, we're pretty much a veteran team. So our schedule is going to be interesting. We open up this season with the SEC game, this time at Florida, number 2 in the nation. You can see the NCAA, we're not preseason ranked once again. Then we will play Ty Featherstone in their first game as they come to St. Louis, and we will face our former quarterback for the first time. We'll see how he is going to be leading that Minnesota team. We will play Baylor. I wanted to play a different team. I tried to play Notre Dame, but the schedules just did not work. So we're going to play Baylor. They won the Big 12 championship last year, and they ended up being a top 5 finishing team. Metropolis will be our second SEC game, and no more Roy Toth. They are led by Mike Rooney at running back now. And then we will play Indiana, who was a top 10 team preseason last year. They're ranked once again this time in another Big 10 school. So now we get into the meat of our schedule, and look who we play. Jamal Wilson and Auburn on the road, and Zeke Timberlake at receiver. That could be a dynamic duo, and maybe Zeke Timberlake could help boost Jamal Wilson's draft stock. Who knows? Then we will play Auburn. Then we will play LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri Tech, Texas A&M, Alabama, and M-STAM. That is a very, very tough schedule. Probably tougher than last season because remember, even Ole Miss is now led by JT Lott, who is a mobile quarterback, and he is ready to start here in his first year as a starter. So now 2 captains, new year, Sully Lowenberg, the first offensive lineman captain in this series. I'm excited about that. This is the first time I would be doing that. And then the first defensive line captain, Dominique Edwards, gets the captain number. Let's see if he can repeat his performance a year ago. He had 3 strip sacks, and let's see, man. I am excited for this defensive line in this pass rush. I think we are going to be very, very good this season. So that's going to do it here in the off season. Let me know what you guys think of this squad and predictions, to be honest. How do you think we will do following up from a national championship? Hit subscribe, hit that like button, stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I've been working hard for a minute. The ones who don't deserve it seem to be the ones that get it. The ones who speak the truth never get the recognition, but the ones that act foolish seem to get all the attention. It don't matter though. Yeah. Hey, it don't even matter though. No. Hey, it don't even matter.